I remember in the Maastricht Treaty had a long discussion on whether to centralize supervision of banks and eventually decided that cooperation between national authorities would have been enough. Well, unfortunately, as we have seen when the crisis hit, cooperation was not working well. So the banking union is important to fix this point.
So we were fully aware at the time that there were some aspects which were not developed as much as they could have been from an ideal viewpoint, and those had mostly to do with the financial architecture, the financial stability side of the economic and monetary union, and political union.
The main question really is not whether the blueprint will operate sufficiently, but how far and how fast member states are prepared to go along that road.
Even a treaty that has never been changed in 20 years needs to some extent to be complemented or a little bit revamped. And from that point of view, it needs to be prepared. And that is why such an initiative is quite important to help to adjust the institutional thinking, if I can call it like that.
What I particularly like in the blueprint is that it doesn't stop at the banking union and at fixing the banking side, but also puts it in a broader perspective of what you need to build a truly integrated single market, and especially greater mechanisms for democratic accountability.
It's a good paper to go to the citizens and to explain that it is all about them. People think that when we are talking about banking union, for instance, the first pillar of this blueprint, that this is to save banks in the interest of the banks. But this is not in the interest of the banks. It's in the interest of the economy, in the interest of enterprises that need money to invest, in the interest of households that need or want also to invest and that want to have a job.
The debate about how to contain the current crisis and how to prevent future crises should be relevant for everybody in Europe. It's about jobs, it's about money, it's about taxes in the future.
It is important that this type of debate is now brought to citizens, because eventually repairing the single market and the single currency is about generating growth and employment, especially for the young generations.
They do need to know that long term you're not always going to be somebody who is working hard and earning and eternally paying out, that there will be the right controls and disciplines to make sure that it is fair and balanced. I mean, that is the problem, but we have not got economies that have converged yet.
It's important for citizens to understand how we can strengthen the EMU in the future and make sure that we don't have another crisis within a short period of time.
We need to have a proper balance between the European level and the national level. Subsidiarity must be the key word. We need to make sure that those things which really have to be addressed at the European level are solved here. For instance, we need to have common rules, including on banking union.
A lot of the work that has to be done, a lot of the legislation will have to be EU legislation and therefore also discussed in the European Parliament and decided upon in the European Parliament. Some of the work, for example in the Euro group, is between member states and will have to be discussed and controlled and decided upon in the national parliaments.
We can't make changes in EU level without acceptance in member states level, and these changes has to be discussed thoroughly in member states.
It's extremely important that we have a well-informed national debate, and that is key for proper deliberation in Europe, and the role of national parliaments is key to that. But at the same time, we need to develop a truly European public sphere, and for that, the type of high-level debate which is sponsored by the European Commission is an absolutely decisive contribution.